Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very senior and accomplished healthcare and happiness professional from my own city, Gurgaon in India, Sakshi Mandhyan. Sakshi, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ashutosh. It's a pleasure to be here on this platform today.
Thank you. Sakshi is the founder and director of Mandhyan Care, which is a positive mental health initiative. She's an award-winning happiness coach, a psychologist, and a keynote speaker. And she has been awarded as one of the 51 most fabulous global happiness leaders. So, Sakshi, what an amazing journey you seem to have had, and you seem to be having lots of fun doing what you are. Let's start talking Mandhyan Care. Tell me about this venture and what was your motivation to start?
So Mandhyan Care is a mental health initiative. It's a positive mental health initiative. It basically focuses on the preventive well-being of the people in our society. If I say where did it all begin, I'll say it began when I was a kid. I was in 7th class, studying in school, 11, 12 years old in age. And I wanted to be a psychologist back then. So the journey started from there. And then I went on to visiting a psychologist when I was 15 years old, because I had to make a choice for my subjects. So I had a great time interacting with a psychologist, and that made my mind more clear and precise to be pursuing this profession. And since then, there have been gradual stepping stones that took place, and worked with Fortis Healthcare and Max Healthcare. After that, I began the journey of Mandhyan Care, because this was always the bigger vision, to reach out to the larger population. And when you are in a hospital, you cannot reach out to a larger population. So Mandhyan Care mostly works with a larger audience in corporate segment, so that we can address to as many people as we can.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, when I was reading about you, your vision is to build resilient humans, mindful workforces, and meaningful lives. So there are 3 components that, as I was reading into it, help me understand each of these with an example or an anecdote.
Definitely. So when we talk about resilient beings, if you see, there are so many struggles and hustles that we go through in our day-to-day routine, be it our personal life or professional life. And one small jolt to our routine, or a hurdle that comes our way, it really shakes us from within. So how to bounce back to normalcy, how quickly to recover from the losses and the failures that we experience. That's the purpose of the resilient being. So we work a lot with resilience. We work a lot with the other value systems that align with resilience, and help people to recover from their losses emotionally and mentally.
Okay.
And as far as the mindful workforces is concerned, it's more about living in the present moment. As you know that, more you oscillate between the past and the future, more you tend to build on anxieties and stress, etc. So hence becoming, more aware of your present environment, living in your present moment, here and now, and working on what you have in the moment is something that we really focus upon and bring people to that awareness.
Amazing. So before I come into my next set of questions, you also say Mandhyan Care is a positive mental health initiative. Help me understand the word positive that you add before mental health initiative.
Sure. So if you see it, the word positive comes from positive psychology here. If you see, traditionally, psychology is more about clinical psychology, working upon the disorders that you go through. So it's more like, working on the issue than to preventing the issue from happening or becoming. So hence the word positive, so that you are working on the regular basis on your mental well-being, so that you're thriving more and you're more, proactive with your approach related to your mind, body, and soul. Hence the term positive.
Terrific. Thank you. So let's now move on. Sakshi, help me understand, what are some of the mental health challenges that are being faced in our country?
Plenty. There are plenty of challenges that we face. Stress is one of the biggest challenges that we face in our day-to-day routine. Anxiety is something that is very common to the population. Depression. There are also relationship issues. If you would see, in my corporate experience, especially when people come for one-to-one counseling, relationship is the most frequently addressed issue. Other than that, there are, panic attacks, OCDs, career-related issues. These are the common issues that people usually go through.
Amazing. And what has been the impact of the pandemic on all our lives?
It has been immensely, disturbing. In the last 2 years, 2020 March till last year, I would say December, I saw people going through so many, internal conflicts. There were health anxiety issues, especially health anxiety that I saw was the, frequently, observed issue in people. People also got a lot of anxiety because of the uncertainty around COVID and, the job change and, working from home environment. So that, and also, if you see, there were a lot of issues in terms of change, because change leads to discomfort and you move out of your comfort zone. So that also was a frequent issue in the pandemic. And of course, the grief is something that was, again, a very unfortunate problem that was there. So many people lost their near and dear ones and they were struggling. So there were a lot of, miseries during the pandemic.
I agree. I mean, that's so true. I don't think I know anybody who did not know someone who had a problem, so you're so right on that. But Sakshi, the other question I wanted to ask you was that, are some of these stresses and depression related challenges, etc., evenly spread across age groups and across genders?
See, mental health is common to all, right? We all have the same brain and the same process for each of us. So yes, the crux of it or the gist of it is common. However, the triggers, the situations, the circumstances, they may differ. That's something that I would say, because every stage has different issues that you deal with, be it a college student or a young adult entering into professional life, or a mid-level manager, or a senior leader. So different age groups, different genders would have different issues or triggers, definitely. Females have, especially during pandemic, females were struggling more because they had to work from home and then manage the home. There was lack of help at home. So, these things are there.
Well said. And the other question that I've often asked a lot of people I've spoken to who are in your area of specialism is, what are the symptoms to watch out for at the workplace and at home and for children, to really be able to say, I think some individual needs help?
So the symptoms are majorly categorized into 4 areas. Somatic, which is bodily symptoms, cognitive, which is mental symptoms, emotional, and then behavioral.
Right.
So any individual will go through few of the symptoms from these 4 categories. So the symptoms would be mainly in somatic category would be aches and pain, loss of appetite or increase in appetite, changes in your sleep pattern, frequent fatigue, palpitation, increase in heart rate. These are the physical symptoms that some might observe in themselves. Cognitively, then people see that there is a lack of attention or focus, there's procrastination, there's a delay in decision making, forgetfulness, or remembering too much. So these are the cognitive symptoms that people might observe in themselves. Emotionally, there's increase in emotional instability. There are crying bouts. You isolate yourself from people, distance yourself from people, and there's anger issue, emotional outbursts. Behaviorally, one might observe that there is motivational issue, that you're low on motivation. Even the appearance goes unkempt. And then there's increase in intake of caffeine or alcohol or drugs. All of these are the behavioral issues that people might observe. So it's not necessary that you will have all these symptoms. You may have few of the symptoms from different categories here. Yeah.
Amazing. But I'm much older, and I keep thinking that when it was anything to do with any mental health issue, people with my vintage, I remember that this was not something that was spoken about. And even now, I've been working for over 4 decades. Even now, I find that it is still not something that is spoken about. I mean, at the end of the day, brain is another organ, and therefore we have a problem. If I have a heart condition, if I'm diabetic, I say so. Why is this still considered to be talked about in such hushed tones?
See, stigma is there. Stigma is there, and it's culturally conditioned. We all have spoken about our physical health in front of others, and people would empathize with you, sympathize with you, they'll support you. So that's culturally, that's something we have seen. However, when it comes to mental health, because you can't see it, right? It's all in the mind. It's so abstract. Then you're like, what is wrong with this person? Right? It's not normal for this to happen because you can't see it. It's not concrete. Right. And anything which is abstract is hardly comprehensible by people. So that's one reason why there is stigma. Again, of course, it's more about conditioning. If you see, if you make it a safe space and people are okay to talk about it, you give importance to it, it becomes a normal issue. But if you don't give importance to it, then it becomes abnormal. Anything away from the norms is abnormal, right? So because we don't talk about it, we don't prioritize it, it becomes a hush-hush thing for us.
Well said. What a great response. And Sakshi, is the culture, and when I talk culture, I talk of culture at home, culture at work. Does culture have an impact also in being able to speak about my mental health issues?
Absolutely. I was just talking about it, that culture primarily conditions you to perceive, to communicate, to adapt, and to think. Your entire value system is highly influenced by the culture that you live in, because you're taught what is right or wrong, what is good or bad, what is healthy, what is unhealthy. So culture definitely impacts the way you perceive things. So if in my culture, I'm raised in a way where you do not talk about mental health, of course, how will I speak? Because nobody is speaking about it. Conformity is the key, right? In the society, you need to conform and comply. So,
wonderful.
That's the thing.
Wonderful. So, Sakshi, now I'm going to move to the other area. You're an award-winning happiness coach. Talk to me a little bit about the work that you do.
So, what do? I work
as
on
a happiness coach.
As a happiness coach, my primary work is to create awareness around mental well-being. No matter how many years I've devoted to this, I still think there is so much work to do. Every time I create awareness around mental well-being, I see another set of people who are unaware. I've noticed that rarely people know the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist. People interchange psychotherapist with psychiatrist. The terms, these two are used interchangeably, whereas there's a major difference between the two.
So why don't you tell us the difference, and then we'll come to happiness for my viewers and listeners.
Sure.
Psychologist and psychiatrist, yeah.
So a psychologist is a master's or PhD in psychology, whereas a psychiatrist is an MD in psychiatry. So that's the first educational difference between the two. So one is an MD in psychiatry and the other one is PhD or master's in psychology. Work-wise, the difference is that a psychologist would do therapies and would use talking cures and would connect with the person one-to-one to understand the issues and work upon them via various therapies. Whereas the psychiatrist, his role is to prescribe medicine, understand the issues, and work more in the medicinal terminology. So as psychologists, we are not supposed to prescribe medicines, but a psychiatrist does. So that's the, job role difference between the two.
Terrific. So, you were speaking about happiness, and I was reminded as he was speaking that, of an old movie, Mera Naam Joker of Raj Kapoor, where they actually said that people who make others laugh and make others happy could be very, very sad themselves. What are your thoughts on that?
That might be true, because if you see, there are so many even well-known people who have gone through it. I wouldn't take the name, but it's basically a coping mechanism, right? So if you are lacking onto something, you project it more and you do it more for the other people because you didn't get it. So you want to compensate and give it to the other people. So it's more of the compensation that you do. So that's the psychology behind taking such measures when you are sad and you are spreading more happiness. It's compensation, and you're compensating it. It's a coping technique.
Correct.
So yes, that definitely happens. I wouldn't deny it. But however, in a healthy environment or in a healthy process, you cannot really provide happiness if you are not happy within. Right? If your cup is empty, how would you pour to others? So in a healthy environment, you must take care of yourself to provide any sort of comfort or happiness to anybody else.
Correct. So again, nothing is better than examples. So do you think you can give me an example, without any names, of course, of some of the work you have done as a happiness coach and the results that you found?
Definitely. So I have been spearheading this project in one of the top most MNCs, and so this project started as a pilot where I insisted that mental health is the need of today, and if we do not create the safe space, how does it flourish? And simultaneously, then I later realized that they were also thinking on the same paradigm. So we discussed it and we thought, okay, let's give it a chance and let's start a pilot. So we started the pilot, and I started the program with mental health awareness in the organization, Pan India. That's where it began. So mental health awareness was a particular workshop that I did with a particular department. So I covered all the departments in the organization, worked towards the mental health awareness. That was the first basic step to the strategy that I was implementing. You wouldn't believe that that mental health awareness campaign that I ran, and I delivered lectures to the different departments, brought in so many people for one-to-one counseling. Which was unbelievable, because there are EAP services also available for these Fortune 500 companies. And the utility in that moment wasn't that strong. And this just turned around the utility, and it increased the utilization of the services, which led to the further, strategizing and strengthening the program. And then we created the themes, we created various events for mental well-being, and also started, the initiative where leaders are talking about it, and it is okay to, work upon your mental well-being. And that literally, made people speak their mind. And it just kept on strengthening. And today it's been 5 years that the program has now converted into a bigger project. There are, professionals in the team, not just me, but there are more people who are involved. And it is just getting bigger and better. And it's unbelievable to see how people are now taking initiative.
Incredible. Sakshi, I have time for one more question. And
sure.
This is a question for a lot of our viewers and listeners who learned so much from our conversation. What would you say are 3 lessons you think our viewers and listeners should take away from the subject of positive mental well-being and happiness?
Okay, so the first thing would be that be solution focused instead of being problem focused. Usually what happens is that we tend to talk so much about the problem that we get into the trap of it. We get into the vicious circle. So be as solution focused as you can. It helps you to be more, schematic in your approach towards the issue, and you're able to be more resilient in that situation. The second is that each problem is temporary. It's not permanent. Nothing lasts longer. So even emotions don't last longer. So don't take the situations too seriously. That will pass. So remember the nature of temperaments. So that's something that can be kept in mind. The last thing would be taking baby steps and being consistent. Especially during the times of difficulties. In your other happy moments, you can make bigger plans, you can have bigger visions, but especially when you are going through a difficult phase, baby steps and the consistency is the key. Like every day, do small things for your well-being and go through it step by step in the present moment. Don't think about the future when it comes to the phase where you're going through difficult times. So in that moment, you should live in the present. Don't plan future or don't look into the past. Have baby steps and be consistent with those.
Amazing.
In your happy times, be as lavish and grand with your plans as you want.
Fabulous. Sakshi, on that note of be solution focused, each problem is temporary, or as they say, this too shall pass, ye bhi guzar jayegi, problems go away. And the third one, baby steps, be consistent, especially when you're faced with problems. Thank you so much for speaking to me. Thank you for sharing with me your amazing knowledge on psychology, well-being, and all the great work you're doing to support so many people. And I'm sure a lot of our viewers and listeners will benefit from this conversation. Thank you again for speaking to me, and good luck.
Thank you so much, Ashutosh. It was wonderful being on this platform. I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. One last thing that I would love to say to the viewers that, there was this time when Charles Darwin said that it's about the survival of the fittest. But in the pandemic time, this is one thing that I've learned, that it's not the survival of the fittest, but it's the survival of the most adaptable.
Well said.
The better you adapt, the better you thrive in the environment. So
what a great way to end. Survival of the most adaptable. And you're right, we all have to be very adaptable. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the brand called You Videocast and Podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the brand called you.